Hello, what's up, everybody? Good to see you all. Chat's very active this evening, and I'm running late as usual. But yeah, I saw the discussion about the thumbnail. I'm gonna pull up that video now. It's ridiculous. We're like shit posting through the apocalypse, basically, and all the governments are too. The Iran state media put out this Lego video that's crazy. I don't know if it was them because I don't know. It seems like it was them because even the Independent in the UK, that newspaper, is saying it was them. I feel like they gotten better at PR. Oh yeah, I mean this is the world that we're in now. This is how governments operate. Our government's doing the same thing. It's wild. I saw this video on Twitter that had like Iran on one of Ben Shapiro's eyebrows and then Israel on another one of his eyebrows, and it was like they were shooting missiles at each other, and it had a big warning under it that said this was generated by AI. But there are no warnings under the obviously AI war videos that are being presented as news all week, which I just found to be absolutely ridiculous and hilarious. But I got to start with the funny stuff. You know what I mean? I like to do that. Oh, wait, hold on a minute. I was about to get in the wrong window. This is wild. So Trump had this rally today. He had a rally in Kentucky to promote, I'm pretty sure it was to promote whoever is running against Thomas Massey. And some woman faints and he has to call a doctor in. And Dr. Oz comes to her rescue, which wasn't even the weirdest thing that happened. Trump then asks the sound person to play Ave Maria, which is what people play at funerals. Like, watch this shit. This is insane. Where's the...
Want to play a song? Do you think the people backstage are listening to me? How about Ave Maria? Well, because is going to be okay. How about putting it in right now, Ave Maria, if they are listening?
Isn't that what you play? If I mean, I don't know because I remember when I worked in the funeral industry, I heard that song a million times, but I don't, I don't know if it's a positive or, but it seems
Ave
inappropriate.
Maria by Pavarotti.
So, and then everybody turns their back to the situation. I don't understand this. They played the song in the video I watched. Maybe this isn't the one. But yeah, could you imagine like you fall out at a political rally and and then you wake up, you hear Ave Maria and Dr. Oz is in your face. Like this shit's just out of control. And then Jake Paul comes up, probably on cocaine, because look at those armpits sweating through that suit, man. Like, I can't with this.
Taught me is courage.
But you know what? It showed lots of courage. Come here, Jake. Say a few words.
Yeah, what Mr. Trump has taught me is courage. We never back down from a fight, even if they're much bigger than you, much, much bigger than you. And I feel all the local Kentuckians feel the same way. You guys have that fight. You guys have that swag. There's a lot of young
Like, that's not a patch, is it? Like, that's sweat, right?
kids in here, the future of America. I grew up just a few hours away from here, and my dad taught me to fight. And all of our voices matter in America. And I'm never afraid to speak the truth. And I know you guys aren't. We are here representing the United States, and it's just a blessing. Thank you, Mr. Trump. We need more factories like this thriving all over the country. And I know he's going to be the one to bring that here to us. I know God is with us. I know he wants us on the right side of history. And everyone here has to do their part. And God's got us. Trump's got us. God bless. Love you, Kentucky.
So then Trump goes on to endorse him for political office.
No, he's a great guy. He's a courageous guy and a talented guy. He's a hell of a fighter, too, by the way. And I just want to say, I'm going to make a prediction that you will be, in the not too distant future, running for political office.
Yeah, in the world that we're living in now, I would not doubt it. Exactly. Got a couple of quick ones. The first 6 days of the war has already costed over $11 billion. And that's probably not counting the all of the equipment that they destroyed, all the radars that they destroyed, all of that. And then I also saw this statistic, which pops up quite frequently. This year is pretty intense, and I don't even think that this counts ICE. But more than 200 people have been killed by police so far in the U.S. And this is the map of all of them. Pretty crazy. And then I guess with ICE, you could probably add almost, at least 30 to it at this point that we know of, if not more. Oh, and now the number's already up to 201. I remember this old statistic that was like you were 8 times more likely to be killed by a police officer than a terrorist in the US. And I don't know exactly what the ratio is now with the current statistics, but the point still remains that you are much more likely to be killed by a cop than a terrorist, statistically. Now, this is a story that I'm not sure of. I haven't been able to confirm it with um any news articles because it's apparently something that happened in India, but apparently these factories where drones for Israel are being made are being attacked in India by this. I think it's a local that says that there's or journalist that says that they're separatists that are doing it. Um, and he has quite a few videos. This has apparently happened in Delhi. If so, that could definitely start to pull somebody else into all this. Also, it looks yeah, let me know if you hear anything, but I'll keep my eye on it too. I saw like one report on it, but it wasn't, it wasn't really something I could verify. But he did have multiple videos and a seemingly reasonable story that seemed to make sense. So that's just something I'm gonna kind of keep an eye on. Also, the white South African refugees that Trump let in are going home because it's actually worse here because they didn't have it bad over there.
And lived for 2 decades in the United States. She came back home for a holiday and realized how much she missed this place.
You cannot dictate what makes your heart happy. So you leave and then you come back because ultimately this is home.
Last year, Sapphire left North Carolina for a seaside town in South Africa's Western Cape. Now, she says her 3 children spend more time outdoors, health insurance is affordable, and she prefers the schools. She's among thousands of white South Africans coming back from abroad, despite U.S. President Donald Trump's statements that South Africa's white minority is being persecuted by the country's black majority government.
Terrible things are happening in South Africa.
The Trump administration is ramping up its new refugee program for white South Africans, focusing on Afrikaners, the descendants of Dutch settlers, such as Sapphire and her family. About 3,500 South Africans have entered the United States as refugees since the program started in May 2025. Pretoria says there is no evidence of discrimination or persecution against whites. Many white South Africans and Afrikaners have welcomed Trump's support, but insisted they nevertheless want to remain in their country. And others who left decades ago are now returning. Anton van Heerden is an employment agent who has been trying to help returnees keep their jobs abroad by shifting to remote work. He said inquiries from white South Africans seeking to return had jumped 70% in the past 6 months.
We have also asked these people why they're coming back, and we got a lot of different reasons. The obvious ones would be whether family, friends, the vibe in South Africa, but also things like costs of living and living standards are considered to be very high in South Africa.
For Naomi and her husband, Danny, they're happy with their choice.
Some of the metrics that we use to decide like whether or not this is our permanent place is education, cost of living.
Yeah, it was really just like a Elon Musk obsession that got pushed into there because he's crazy and he grew up there during apartheid, and his family had a massive problem with the kind of reversal of that. So he has had this kind of twisted idea in his head that there was this persecution happening. And it definitely played into a lot of the propaganda that they're trying to construct.
How much we're enjoying the place. And so far, that's ticking all the boxes.
Yeah, I've met quite a few that are cool, that are just like normal people and have normal jobs. But yeah, the billionaires that come from there are, any billionaires in general. I can't remember like any of them that are like remotely ethical. I mean, you have some people who are billionaires through like art and stuff, and like, yeah, but some of these fools. So this is the Doge Bros are apparently having to do legal depositions and stuff now. because of all of the corruption that they were involved with. And this guy literally can't define DEI. And his job was flagging grants for DEI and denying them. And they were asking him why he denied this grant for like women in the Holocaust or something like that.
There was the EO explicitly laid out. The details, I don't remember it off the top of my head.
It's okay. I'm asking for your understanding of it.
Yeah, my understanding was exactly what was written in the EO.
Okay. So can you?
I don't remember what was in the EO.
So right now, do you have an understanding of what DEI is?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your understanding as you sit here today in this deposition?
Well, it was exactly what was written in the EO. And so anytime that we would look at a grant through the lens of complying with an executive order, we would just refer back to the EO and assess if this grant had relation to it.
Okay. But I guess stepping back from your methodology strictly in terminating the grants, do you have an understanding as you sit here today of what DEI means?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your understanding of what it means?
Well, it is exactly what was written in the EO.
Okay. So why is a documentary about Holocaust survivors DEI?
Objection.
It's the gender-based story that's inherently discriminatory to focus on this specific group.
It's inherently discriminatory to focus on what specific group?
The gender-based, so females during the Holocaust.
And you
So
believe that's
obnoxious.
inherently discriminatory?
I'm just saying that's what it's focused on.
Sure.
And this is related to DEI.
Right. But you just used the term inherently discriminatory. What did you mean by that?
It's focusing on DEI principles, gender being one of them.
So a documentary that's about women would be DEI.
Objection.
Is that fair to say?
No.
Okay. So tell me why what I just said isn't DEI, but what you just said is DEI.
Objection.
It's a Jewish, specifically focused on Jewish cultures and amplifying the marginalized voices of the females in that culture.
This is one of Elon's Doge minions that that stole all the Social Security information and broke into all of those government agencies and got all the data, probably to give it to Palantir.
It's inherently related to DEI for those reasons.
And on paper, their job was to eliminate waste and DEI programs. But it definitely seems at this point that, you know, their mission was data extraction. Yeah, it's one of the Doge guys. And so we're having all these issues with the oil markets that everybody's talking about. But this trade route is also responsible for a lot of the world's fertilizer as well. And that we're starting to feel the effects of that, or at least the farmers are. And then, you know, others will start to feel it as well.
Fertilizer, those that need to buy are hurting pretty bad because we've had this huge jump in fertilizer prices because of this conflict. And, you know, with only about 30% of fertilizer coming through the Strait of Hormuz, that's, if you divide that out per day, that's about 0.09% of the world's fertilizer coming through there. And even if the U.S. only uses 30% of that, which I think is probably a really high number, that's 0.03% and per day. So we've only been in conflict for nearly 12 days here, and our fertilizer costs have jumped nearly 77%, and our corn price has only gone up by 5%. So we've got some real challenges here ahead of us, fertilizer.
See, and they were so stupid with this too, because this whole Strait of Hormuz thing was not a surprise. Like, you could go back and look at really old articles. Anytime there was ever any kind of beef with Iran, you would see articles from like Business Insider and shit like that about how, you know, this is what they're going to do if we attack them. They're going to close the Strait of Hormuz, and it's going to do this, and it's, you know, this has literally been predicted and kind of fear-mongered about every single time there's been an issue with Iran. So they should have known that this was coming, because it is clearly, you know, as Trump says about, you know, you have the cards, they certainly have the cards in that regard. And you know, the fact that this wasn't known is just wild. And it looks like in Lebanon, things are expanding too. People have been staying on the beach in tents, and the tents were bombed today. This is footage from that, and then there is another. I believe that this is from the emergency cruise on the beach. But this is like just happening, so there isn't a whole lot on that. Thanks for joining. Welcome. Yeah, they are definitely playing 10D chess upside down for sure. What's this? I saved this and I had revoked citizenship, but I didn't. I don't remember what it was about. Oh yeah, I'm jumping around a bit. There was this story out in the New York Times today, I believe, yeah, saying that or no. Never mind, that is a little bit old. It was just reposted. That they have but this was the first time I saw it. For immigration, they are creating a supply office of immigration litigation with 1 to 200 denaturalization cases per month. That means that they're thinking about stripping people's citizenship away. So not just going after people who they say are immigrants, but people who are legitimate citizens. That was an unfortunate phrasing, but you know what I mean. Trying to give the legal definition. See what else I got. Oh yeah, this was a wild one. So the Sudanese army is advancing to recapture towns from the United Arab Emirates-backed terrorist group, the RSF. Armed supplies from the UAE to the RSF have dried up since Iran began its Operation True Promise. Sudan must. Okay, so yeah, there is this genocide happening in Sudan, as you may have heard. The group that is like a problem there is being funded by the United Arab Emirates. And you know, obviously their arms supply is drying up now. So there may be a shift in the dynamics in that situation. And there's already changes happening with North and South Korea. So you know how the THAAD missiles were removed, those missiles that shoot the missiles, they're like the defense missiles. They were taken out of South Korea this week by the United States so they could be moved to Israel because Israel's running out and the Gulf states are running out. So in light of this, as that's happening, North and South Korea are talking about a peace treaty. It's almost as if these U.S. military bases have been causing a lot of this this issue all along. North Korean leader's sister criticizes U.S. and South Korea for proceeding with drills. What is that one? March 10th. Here it is. South Korea calls for Korean War peace declaration with the North. South Korea's unification ministry called Friday for pursuing a declaration formally ending the Korean War, describing it as a step forward to restarting dialogue with North Korea and easing tensions on the Korean Peninsula. Like, this is quite wild. Seoul will promote a peace declaration reflecting the political will to end the Korean War and initiate discussions on establishing a peace regime, including a signing of a peace treaty. I mean, that's an insane development that's happening all in the midst of this. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that, you know, uh, the US has kind of shown that it does not have the power to kind of do all the things all over the world that was expected. And I think I've started to think about this too. Like, I'm wondering if we are entering because of technology, that technology has kind of done this weird thing where, y- they have these massive aircraft carriers and planes and stuff, but now with drones and drone warfare, like we've seen in a lot of these new wars, how smaller countries can take off or take on these bigger countries, and with some of these more lightweight technological tools. So I do think it is changing the yeah, exactly. Ukraine is a very good example of that. Um, I think the nature of this global hegemony situation is changing a little bit. And if I'm going to be optimistic about it, which I like to try to do, I like to think that we're entering a time where it might be harder for one country to totally dominate everything. Maybe if I'm being optimistic, we are entering a time where, people are forced to kind of get along a little bit better instead of just one person trying to rule the world at all times. Um, yeah, to some extent, I have looked into the WEF thing, and I think that, like, with those kind of think tank prescriptions, whether it's WEF or the World Bank or the Council on Foreign Relations or anything like that. Um, they are like goals for the ruling class, and it's like the most optimistic projections for them. You know what I mean? It's like what their dream utopian would be. And even though, like, I agree, there's probably that is their goals, they put it in print. At the same time, um, they don't always meet that kind of, and things happen in reality that prevent their dreams from becoming a reality. So I think that stuff is important to know about for sure. I always have apprehensions about how close it's going to be to that reality. I know, like, with BRICS, like, the economic alliance of, like, China, Russia, and a lot of the global South countries is playing a major role in that kind of shift. And that's definitely going to be interesting to see too. And I just don't think, yeah, Trump definitely changed the entire relationship with Europe for sure. And that is, I mean, it is good for Europe to be more independent for sure. But I also, I worry about the cultural impact of it. Like, the next time I go to Europe, I'm definitely going to be continuing to tell people I'm from Canada, because that's what I always did anyway, because I've always been ashamed of the foreign policy here. But now, like, other people do the Canada thing. um, but yeah, I think a lot of these countries are recognizing that you know it isn't a good deal for them in a lot of cases, and the US has been taking advantage of a lot of these countries. um and I just really hope for an early end to this situation, because, with the ecological damage and the human cost that we've seen so far, You know, I hope that I really do hope that it comes to a quick end. But my optimism in previous years has rarely worked out well. But I still try to keep it, you know what I mean? Because what else can you do? Yeah, I'm probably not fooling anybody. Yeah, you're probably right about that. Yeah, I mean, I have always just been like, ever since I was young, like I was against the Iraq war. I had somebody who very close to me die in the Iraq war, and that like radicalized the hell out of me because once I started researching into once I was upset about that situation, I started looking into just how horrible it was for the people over there. Oh yeah, you're Canadian. Yeah. Sorry for the stolen valor, but I'm ashamed of my country. um, I've been seeing reports that American military is having trouble leaving Iraq. They're trying to evacuate, and for the past week, they've kind of been under fire from both Iranian drones and local Shiite militias. They let's see, managed to open fire against almost all the American bases in the region to the point where the military had to abandon these bases in $1 billion loss. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And the $11 billion that we've spent so far, on top of that, it's probably like if you include the things that were destroyed that have to be rebuilt, it's probably immense. And also the economic damage in general. But I wonder if some of these bases will ever be, will ever be rebuilt. Yeah, yeah, I would never say I'm Canadian in Canada. That's a good advice there. Patriots were powerless in the face of the number of attacks. Yeah, so this was an article from ABC out today. Yeah, and that's the thing is like from the the whole war on terror, the Iraq, Afghanistan, then on to Syria and all that. That costed this country so much money. It's like literally why we don't have nice things and why China is significantly far ahead of us in technology and quality of life and things like that. It's why we can't have basic public services that they do have in a lot of countries, is because the ruling class here wants to use all of that money to control the planet for the benefit of their corporations and shareholders that most of us don't really take part in. But they make us feel like it's a part of our, you know, they make it feel like we're a part of it, like it's our win too. But we don't see that. I mean, I know like when I started to travel abroad, I noticed like the quality of life is generally it's within a very similar range for the average people in many places. It's just that the extreme wealth that we have here, it brings up the GDP artificially, and everybody thinks that like we're a wealthy country when most of us struggle to get through it. um I've been seeing videos of these very large bombs that are being used. um I think nukes have been ruled out. I don't think that they are nukes, and a lot of people have said that they aren't nukes. But they do create a very large mushroom cloud. These were used in Yemen as well. By I'm not sure if it was by Saudi Arabia on behalf of the United States or if it was. Yeah, so the shockwave hit all the way to that building where they were recording. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I saw that they were destroying the ships out there. And then where was the other one? Was it below? Oh, no, wait. This, yeah, this right. This was it was apparently the first one was the one that we saw was the one in Yemen. This one was the one that was used in. And I'm not sure, but it could be one of these bombs that blew out that windshield, or that rear windshield that we saw the other. Yeah, like, we used to get a ton of, tourism from Canada here, and it is totally dropped off, and it's one of the main reasons why Vegas is dead. Like, every time went to Vegas, I would always run into Canadians in the casinos late at night and stuff, and I haven't been in a few years, but I would imagine that, it's not, you know, it's not as packed as it used to be, and I've been seeing a ton of articles about how they're struggling out there. But, I mean, if they lowered their prices again and no, it was like 3 oil tankers that they took out or something, which again is, like, more environmental devastation. But yeah, I think that's all that I got on the war front. I got some Epstein. Oh, I didn't even talk about the drone story. Yeah, that's the big story of the day. I just like was so um bored by it, honestly. And to me, it seemed like very very orchestrated propaganda. Like, first of all, we have this um this story where they're trying to tell you that you are in personal danger here living in the United States from attacks from Iran. And they started with all the sleeper cell stories last week that they always start with, which also plays into a lot of their anti-immigrant sentiment. Um, yeah, they really want to drum up support for this war and make people think that there's a threat, which concerns me as somebody who was around for 9/11. You know what I mean? Um, I'm not saying that that's something that big would happen, especially with the administration that we're dealing with right now. I could see us having um a, a very poorly executed false flag of some sort from this administration. Um The FBI has warned police departments in California that Iran wants to retaliate for American attacks by launching an offensive drones against the West Coast, according to an alert reviewed by ABC News. So there are a couple layers to this story. First of all, they can't actually reach us from the mainland. They would have to coordinate with cartels who would not do that. I don't think that they would do that. I don't like cartels are about making money. They're not going to do that shit. You can't pay a cartel enough money to send um, kamikaze bomb drones into California. I just is not realistic as far as I'm concerned. And um, you know, like I said, it also plays into a lot of their anti-immigrant sentiment and the hysteria around that. But even with this story, there are so many layers of like this was blown out of proportion. It was months ago that this alert went out, first of all. And second of all, the only thing is that they had a desire to do this. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure they have a desire to do a lot of things, but what's actually possible, you know? Um, So yeah, they will be complaining about the consequences of this when people when there's a lot of refugees. But yeah, so that was why I almost forgot about the story. But there was this, even CBS wasn't biting on it. Multiple U.S. state and state law enforcement and intel officials told CBS News that there is no credible intelligence underpinning the bulletin distributed on the verified possibility that Iran could retaliate for Americans' attacks by launching drones at the West Coast. This is not actionable, a California-based federal law enforcement official told CBS. All this means is we got this information and we want to get it out to law enforcement executives to make sure they're up to speed about it, another California law enforcement official said. There's absolutely nothing more to it. The bulletin to the local law enforcement by the FBI's Los Angeles division stemmed from an apparent tip that surfaced prior to the Iranian conflict. So yeah, this was something months ago. And yeah, so there were, I do think that this was somewhat orchestrated, especially with how it was all over the timeline, unnaturally, all over the timeline, and it was unnaturally all over the timeline with the same captions. You know how they do that sometimes. Let's see. I think that is it for the war stuff. I got some Epstein stuff to get to though. Yeah, it did have a little bit of psyop vibes to it. So check this. This is another one of those things. This is a very weird connection that I think it's weird. It's not the kind of evidence that you can convict somebody of in court, you know, but it really is a gold nugget, I will say. Look at this. Trump is scaring everyone in his cabinet into wearing the same shoes. President Trump is strangely buying everyone he meets with the same pair of shoes. So they all got the same pair of shoes. Why does Lutnick have Trump hair? Is this has to be Photoshop, somebody playing, because they put the Trump wig on Lutnick. Look at that. Let me see, because apparently there was so look, he got this idea from Epstein. This was a power move that Epstein used to do to people, and it was revealed in the emails. So look at this article here. Trump is obsessed with these $145 pair of shoes and won't let anyone leave without a pair. The president has started doling out dress shoes to his friends and advisors. He says all the boys have them, in quotes, right? Remember that. All the boys have them. Yeah, see, that's Lutnick without the Trump wig. That was a good bit, whoever did that. Yeah, let's see here. So look at this email. Hi girls, I'd like to buy some shoes for you that Jeffrey liked. Can you please let me know what sizes are you? Thank you. So Jeffrey used to buy shoes for all of his girls and make them wear them, the shoes he liked. Now, now Trump's doing it for all the boys. So this seems like it was going out from one of his assistants. Let me look. I know this sounds Kaykr. Shaluk. I just want to make sure. I'm pretty sure it's one of his assistants. Last partner and main heiress. She won't benefit from his will. The Belarusian woman met the predator when she was 20 and remained loyal to him. Okay, so she was definitely doing that on his behalf, though. But that's some weird shit, isn't it? And then here's another email from somebody else saying, I haven't worn the new shoes that you bought for me. I can return them. Now, like I said, this is circumstantial evidence. You know, but it's so oddly specific in my view that you know, that I feel like there's something to this. And it's just wild that there's always some kind of connection, you know what I mean? Um, there's also new news out today on Epstein's child, apparently. This is the mother of my child. That is what Epstein confessed to one of his victims, alluding to a picture of a blonde woman displayed inside of a New York mansion, according to bombshell files released by the Department of Justice. In the newly disclosed account, the woman, who claims she was assaulted by Epstein for years since she was 16, told investigators that the convicted had pointed to a photo of a blonde on a beach and claimed that she had given birth to his baby. I wonder if this is the woman that we were just talking about. You guys in the chat. The claims have been repeatedly denied by Epstein's brother Mark, who insists that the late financier never had a child. And yeah, there's talking about how he wanted to seed his human race with his DNA, which is the insane stuff that a lot of those guys believe in. Elon Musk, even the founder of Telegram, he has like over 100 children or something, and it's like, that's just weird, man. I mean, I'm somebody who has decided that I will never have kids, and that is like, agreed upon at this point. But I don't, get too obsessed with the legacy idea, but I don't understand 100 kids. Yeah, I mean, I do like Telegram for the fact that like it is somewhat decentralized, and it is like some level of privacy. It definitely is narcissism for sure. And like when you have a platform that allows for privacy, you're gonna get some grimy stuff on there for sure. Because that's basically where the dark web exists now to some extent. They still have Tor and stuff like that, but like online drug markets is mostly on Telegram now. And from what I hear, it's people aren't getting ripped off, you know what I mean? But there is some legitimately terrible things on there as well. And a lot of like groypers and shit are organizing on there. It's unfortunately a part of the comes with the territory of like decentralized open platforms. Just like the internet, any asshole can put up a terrible kind of website. People getting real pissed off about the glasses where you can record people, because they're drilling out the camera like light, and now you could be a creep and then post stuff online. So yeah, I think that was the only new news from that article, but I got some more Epstein stuff as well. There was a hearing today with one of Epstein's financial guys, one of his accountants, and he named a couple of people that he did remember doing like arranging finances for, or arranging transactions for, or seeing transactions between Epstein and these people. He did mention Leon Black. He did mention the Rothschilds. He stayed away from mentioning Trump, and the GOP oversight was very, very quick to boost that. But I think a lot of these people are going to be aiming for pardons, so they're not going to be mentioned in that name. But he also Comer, who was quick to point out the lack of mention in Trump in that financial conversation, did actually admit that it was the Trump administration that halted the previous search of Epstein's Zorro Ranch when it actually would have mattered, because at this point, you know, it's probably way too late. Unless he has bodies buried out there on the ranch, then it's definitely too late. Rep. James Comer has claimed that the Department of Justice intervened to block a state investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's New Mexico ranch in 2019. The Kentucky Republican appeared on Jesse Waters' Fox show on Tuesday, a day after the new search of the property was commenced, when he made the claim about the failings of the authorities to catch up with Epstein during President Donald Trump's first term, when then Attorney General Bill Barr was leading the DOJ. Bill Barr is like deep in a lot of this shit too. Oh yeah, no, he had a lot of accountants, I think. At least a couple. The federal government asked New Mexico to stop their investigation, I believe, back in 2019 of that ranch. So there's many questions about how the government failed the victims and how government failed in trying to prosecute Epstein sooner. I mean, this whole thing doesn't make sense. Even he's saying it. Everyone has conspiracy theories on how Epstein was able to get away with it. Was it because he had powerful friends? Was it because he was an agent? We don't know, but we're going to find out. And I'm glad that they're going the ground now in Mexico, New Mexico, searching that property. That is a funny thing that you can bet for. Let's see. I do think that Bill Barr was the one who sent Jeffrey Epstein's prison note. The handwriting is extremely similar. I actually did a video about that. The data breach, I did see an article. I was going to pull that up. Is that the like the hack? I think, let's see, this story maybe. The hacker compromised Epstein emails held by the FBI. Source describes it as a cyber criminal, including combining or combing through certain files pertaining to the Epstein investigation. Previously, all we knew is that there was some kind of breach. Hacker stumbles across Epstein child abuse on the FBI server, is disgusted, threatens to call the FBI. FBI gets on video call to prove that they are in fact the FBI. This is in Reuters, I guess, today. Nose is itchy for some reason. A foreign hacker compromised files relating to Epstein's FBI investigation. That is really weird. Who wouldn't be going after the Epstein files if you're the Russians or somebody interested in compromise? John Lindsay, who researches his role of emerging technology and global security at the Georgia Institute of Technology. If foreign intelligence agencies are not thinking seriously about the Epstein files as a target, then I would be shocked. The February 2023 break-in. The hack occurred after a server at the Child Exploitation Forensic Labs in the FBI New York field office was inadvertently left vulnerable by Special Agent Aaron Spivak, who was trying to navigate the Bureau's complex procedures for handling digital evidence, according to the source and the documents. Further investigation turned up traces of unusual activity on the server, adding that the activity included combing through certain files pertaining to the Epstein investigation. The timeline does not say what specific files were accessed, whether the hacker downloaded the data, or who the hacker was. Reuters could not establish what, if any, overlap the affected data had with Epstein documents published earlier this year, or the files that remain under wraps. So there could be somebody out there with all of this. It's crazy that they chatted by video. I'm going to have to look at the, what was it? Something Gamer. Yeah. I'll check that out. Some ordinary gamers, yeah. Yeah, I bet he didn't know what he had, but that is nuts. There's also more and more coming out about Epstein's brother, and it is not looking good. This
not only
really great video a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, that's very weird. Very weird situation.
knew about his brother's trafficking operation, but he helped to facilitate it. I am back at the condo building owned by Mark Epstein for another episode of Mark v. Mark, where I am investigating Mark Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein rented 15 apartments in this building that became the nexus of his New York trafficking operation. Growing up, Mark and Jeff were known as the Dirt Brothers, but here, Mark says their only relationship was landlord and tenant. When asked if their affairs went any further, Mark said, "I don't have time to talk about it." So, let's talk about it. Court records show that this is where children, either procured from local high schools or from overseas, were stashed and made to live as underage prostitutes in the condos, many times 4 to a room. Virginia Guffrey stayed here and provided the FBI with photos of the interior. When confronted about the building again, Mark Epstein said, "I do not live in that building and I do not monitor who uses those apartments." He should have monitored it. His daughter lived there in a room furnished by Ghislaine Maxwell that was 1 floor above Epstein's primary.
Like these people don't even care about their kids, their own kids. It's crazy. Like, what's his name? Howard Lutnick was like, I'm bringing my daughters, and then he listed off all their ages.
Supplier of victims, John Luke Brunel. Mark Epstein's ex-wife is the only Epstein who's ever been honest about what was actually happening here. She said that the building is co-owned by the Epstein brothers, and that the only reason that Jeffrey's apartments in particular have keypads is because so many girls ran away that the brothers got tired of rekeying the locks after each departure. There are numerous emails about changing the keypad codes. There are numerous emails of the brothers negotiating who would stay in which apartment. In an interview with the FBI, a victim says that Jeffrey called Mark to figure out the room that she was eventually kept in. In a deposition, Mark was asked, "Who are the residents that live in the apartments that Jeffrey Epstein rents at that location?" And Mark answered, "I have no idea." At the time of that statement, 2 of Epstein's co-conspirators were living in the building, and Mark's lawyer for this deposition was paid for by Jeffrey Epstein. Mark's answers for who he thought stayed at Jeffrey's apartments, his pilots. Now, in this email, Mark tells Jeffrey about how he ran into a girl on her phone in the building and could tell she was one of Jeffrey's because of, quote, the neon Bimbet sign over her head. And it does not sound like he thought she was a pilot. In this email, Mark mentions meeting a woman who once stayed at 301 and asked Jeffrey if
seriously gross people. Like,
they hooked up, and Jeffrey sarcastically responds, "No, I brought her here to sing. Did you hit her head?" To which Mark replies, "I thought she might have been too old for you," which says it all. When all of these girls who look so young were being driven up the road to Epstein's mansion, an address Mark called Offenders Row, did he think they were going there to sing? I don't think he did. I think he knew. And I don't think that he should be getting Jeffrey Epstein's inheritance, which will be the subject of the next episode of Mark v. Mark. And program note,
So I got one more for this. This is wildly hilarious. It's another Alex Jones Cope clip, but he gets so unhinged here. And he's doing the thing where he's trying to give Trump an out and trying to act like Trump is just some poor victim here who is being led into this, and that it's not his fault, and that it's just Israel, and it's just the people around him, which of course that is a factor, but the United States empire benefits greatly from this war. Trump's friends benefit greatly from this war. His own stock prices benefit greatly from this war. And I'm sure like I said in the video I put out last week, there's like 6 different reasons why this is happening. And they really want to choose the way that gives Trump an out. But you got to hear the way that he describes this. It starts out unhinged, and then it just continues to get more unhinged.
Our wife. Trump's our wife. We're married to him. And then we catch somebody taking him away and taking him off to their house. And Trump's got his legs up behind his ears, and Lindsey Graham's in there with Netanyahu double teaming him. And we're coming over the house saying, "Hey, honey, you need to come out here with us. I'll let it pass on this. We'll go to counseling or we're getting a divorce. You got
That was oddly specific right there.
cat turd pulling on my shoulder going, hey, let him gangbang Trump. And us at
And then he says cat turd is pulling on his shoulder.
the same time, and I'm watching Lindsey Graham and Netanyahu, double team Trump. And I'm like, no, that's ours. I mean, you got Pound Town going on right now. Okay. And I guess the triple team, Huckabee's in there too. So they got, Trump stuff like a Christmas turkey here.
Can't with that shit, dude. He's just, oh man. He really is something else. No, that is real. That is real. It is a little bit edited because they put the music in the background and stuff, but I went and I found his social media and I looked it up, and it is 100% real. It's totally real. He did say it. Hold on. Let me pull it up on his actual page. He definitely said that shit. Cuz I'm telling you, he gets unhinged. Let's see. Dude is going to be deported. He might. But I'll leave y'all with that. Had to leave it on a funny note, but I hope y'all have a good evening despite the fact that the world is going crazy, and I will see you all tomorrow at the same time. Peace. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other videos. And if you have the ability and want to contribute, take a look at my Patreon, where you can find a subscription to my books and a bunch of other cool stuff, like the ability to send links in chat and access to closed rooms in our Discord server.